Hey everybody, I just wanted to summarize two quick public speaking tips, really to distill as many of these lessons down to their essence as I possibly can. The first one is to be natural, be yourself. It sounds cliche, it sounds trite, it's the kind of advice that you give to somebody when they go into a job interview or something else, and you say, just be yourself and you'll be just fine. But I mean something really specific here. I've watched tens of thousands of public speeches over the course of teaching public speaking for 20 years now and participating as a public speaker myself and doing public speaking consulting on the side, which I do. And one of the things I overwhelmingly find is that when you speak to somebody interpersonally, they have natural rhythms and tones, they have variety of speech patterns, variety of volume, they pause in particular places, they don't pause in others, they speed up, they slow down, they have different emphases. You get my point here. But then you ask them to give a public speech and they sound completely different. They don't sound like themselves. Their voice changes. Maybe it gets higher, maybe it gets lower, maybe it gets faster, maybe it gets much slower. They pause at the ends of every sentence. They're doing a kind of imitation of what they think a public speech should sound like instead of trying to sound like themselves giving a public speech. So what I mean here is that if you can give yourself, you're going to tape yourselves giving public speeches, watch it. And if you don't sound like yourself, if you don't have your same conversational rhythms, pauses, emphases, changes in volume, and things of that nature, then redo it. Then think about recording it again and trying to sound more like yourself when you're in an energetic, excited conversation. The more you can do to sound like yourself when you're talking to a friend excitedly and eloquently, the better you're going to be as a public speaker. So in short, have a variety of tonal, performative, vocal effects, but also try to be natural, be yourself. Number two, just as important, make eye contact consistently with the audience. If you're in a live public speech in front of a room of people, this means scanning the audience and making eye contact with different sections of the audience. In a virtual environment, this means making direct eye contact for as much as possible with the camera. Not over here where your notes are, not down here where your notes are, not if your notes are placed strategically above, so it sort of looks like you're looking at the camera, but you're really not, but instead directly at the camera. This makes the audience feel involved, it makes it feel more like a conversation, and when you just read to the audience, it takes the performance out of it. Public speaking is embodied, it is a performative act, and it's up to you to put on a show for the audience. Otherwise, you could just write your speech ahead of time and deliver it to the audience, or just email it to them, right? Don't take the performance out of it, perform your speech. Now, that doesn't mean you should memorize your speech. It doesn't mean you should never look at your notes. The kind of golden rule here is to try to only reference your notes once per every 30 to 45 seconds, even a minute if you can get that far. Figure out where you are, briefly look down at your notes, catch your place, and then look back. What that does mean, however, is that if you're going to look at your notes, don't have a lot of stuff written on your notes. If you have full sentences written on your notes, if you have a note card like this, that's slam full of information, when you look down briefly, it's going to be really difficult to catch your place, to figure out where you are. So if you have note cards or pieces of paper, make sure that the font is enormous. It's easy to catch, it's easy to read, it's easy to catch your place very quickly when you look down briefly, so that then you can get back to interacting with the audience and it doesn't take too much away from the vocal performance and eye contact performance of the speech. So in short, be natural, be yourself, and try as best as you can to maintain consistent eye contact with the audience.